Academics and religious leaders have long been enthralled by the ancient Jewish Book of Enoch because of its rich variety of sophisticated problems and engaging narrative. This is one of the reasons it shines out in the pages of religious history. The complex fabric of the apocryphal text is formed by many separate strands interacting. Among these threads are the astronomical book, the Book of Paradise, and the Book of Observers especially. There have been claims that this tapestry boasts a magnificent weaving. The story could finally help the reader to grasp this complex network. The mythological great-grandfather of Noah, Enoch, is said to have produced this magnificent piece of art. Concerned about the topic, the choice to omit the Book of Enoch from the canon of the Bible has set up a frenzy of discussion and speculation. This is still the case notwithstanding early impact and adoption. The absence of this component highlights the intricate link that exists between religious authority and interpretation, therefore motivating the rigorous examination of the criteria early church leaders used to pinpoint the canon of Scripture. It is absent, hence the complex link between religious authority and interpretation becomes more evident. The Book of Enoch has evolved into a must-reading for everyone who wants a better understanding of Jewish and Christian ideas since of its great insights on problems such as divine judgment, soul destiny, and the nature of evil. Both kinds of religion recognize the importance of these ideas and the way they help to clarify the moral and ethical quandaries people all across the world are currently confronting. The gorgeous word dance the poem spans tells a great tale of the Watchers, celestial beings sent to Earth to live in harmony with humans. They build a relationship with the human species and create a complicated narrative that plants depravity against what is thought to be deserving of respect. Apart from illuminating sin and atonement, this story also clarifies the concept of the hierarchy of the divine order and the universe in the ancient perspective. The fact that the narrative fulfills several functions helps one to justify this. Those who want to delve more into the Book of Enoch are drawn to it because of its unorthodox viewpoint on well-known biblical events and the fact that it questions established wisdom. This is so because the Book of Enoch offers a fresh perspective on the biblical narratives. Some customs hold that the mysterious Nephilim are born from parents who are both human mothers and watchers. From the dawn of time, the story of the Nephilim has captivated the ordinary population as well as those educated about religious subjects. The religious texts and rites carried out now are much influenced by the great symbolism and amazing apocalyptic themes contained in the Book of Enoch. This book is quite strong as the ideas included in the New Testament have broad effects across the whole Bible. This results in more obvious evidence of the impact of the New Testament apart from being a fascinating narrative in itself. The Book of Enoch clarifies the intricate network of intellectual, social, and religious influences that pervaded Judaism throughout the Second Temple. The Jewish community carried these impacts all over. The people of earlier generations were much valued for their different achievements and single points of view. First of all, we must accept this past if we are to fully understand the road the early Christians followed and the change in opinion of religion. As the reader travels on this mysterious journey over the pages of this book, they will find an adventure into the realm of judgment and the next world. He explains eschatology, the study of the end times, and shows how profoundly and permanently it has shaped Christian theology throughout the course of his conversation. Academics and those seeking strong spiritual connections have lately shown a revival of interest in the Book of Enoch. This has helped brand new secrets to be restored. This causes more hiding than there was in past years. Subjects that have endured time and still enthrall viewers in the modern period include good and evil, divine mercy, and the battle against evil. By use of these ideas, audience members are urged to consider their own personal moral responsibilities and the challenge of interpreting a society engulfed in anarchy. After more research, the Book of Enoch reveals not only its great historical significance but also its continuous influence on debates on morality, religion, and human nature generally. This is valid even if the Book of Enoch has existed for a very long period. The book challenges us to consider the important puzzles about the nature of God in our own life by offering an interesting and worthwhile research topic. The Book of Enoch has endured the test of time and still impresses a great tribute to the complex network of religion that has evolved over many years. For some time, a lot of people have been waiting anxiously for this to come about. This study has helped to expose the spiritual component in ways that are both confusing and illuminating. People are inherently interested, hence we examine the ideas behind it as well as the surroundings in which they first developed. The mystery of this area of research stems from its absence in the canon of biblical writings. The results of this interesting research clarify the intricacy of religion as well as the innumerable tales that have molded our spiritual and intellectual growth. Examining this work is one strategy one may use to handle this problem. Searching the archives of old literature might help you locate the Book of Enoch, often regarded as one of the most remarkable manuscripts ever discovered in ancient times. According to the intriguing passage under review, none other than Enoch, a guy most famously recognized as the great-grandfather of the well-known Noah, wrote this record. He is therefore firmly rooted in the Hebrew Bible. Furthermore stated in the text is Enoch's author of this document. One of the most amazing features of the poem is its sophisticated network of links to a family tree with great theological and philosophical weight in both Judaism and Christianity. The defining qualities of this link are amazing width and depth. Enoch is presented in Genesis as a righteous man who walked with God. The amazing descent into paradise, in which he was spared the grief of death, adds to the great air of mystery and force that surrounds the works mentioning him. Enoch avoided the pain of dying. Many academics who study the Book of Enoch agree that it was written during the fascinating Second Temple period. From what is usually regarded to be the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE, Judaism underwent a time of amazing theological and cultural transformation. Judaism was developing along with the events occurring during the same time frame. Acquiring this fundamental knowledge is essential before turning the pages of the book, as it helps one to appreciate the ideas that are deftly woven throughout the book and how they shaped later religious doctrine. The ideas cannot make sense without some previous knowledge, hence you must have gained some of it. An fascinating story results from the several accents and voices found in the Book of Enoch that vary from one another. The story is deftly split into many separate sections. At the crux of this story is a noteworthy event occurring in the sky involving entities called the Watchers. These Watchers were instantaneously banished from this hallowed domain as soon as they touched living entities. The remarkable Nephilim race emerged during the course of the universe's expansion. With the aim of this work, the author explores the far-reaching effects of human nature against the backdrop of rising anxiety of God. The events of the narrative take place against the backdrop of the shadows they throw. The narrative of the Watchers' transgressions is a sobering warning about the moral decline brought about when people stray from the expected holy standards. This issue, which forms a subplot to the larger story of sin and atonement that the Bible recounts, sharply emphasizes the great relevance of following God's will. Examining this subject helps us to contrast it with the ideas of the Bible. The author's realistic portrayal of divine justice and the end of the world, which he observes via his apocalyptic visions, is yet another crucial component of this amazing work. Among the several things the Book of Enoch reveals is a book with visions. A magnificent tapestry of celestial spheres with the sacred seat of power will decide the ultimate judgment. Virtuous people will get rewarded, those who are wicked will be punished. The thread running throughout this amazing tapestry is story. When I consider this image of the end of the world, I see a dystopian future in which a post-apocalyptic society fights against an authoritarian regime motivated by an obsession for revenge. These recurring ideas help the society to express its most deep concerns and aspirations. It has been reported that in addition to having horrible images, they seem to be flying over dangerous territory throughout the period they are waiting for their definite doom. Those who are really dedicated to a cause have an ethereal light that not only leads them down the road but also provides hope that justice will be done in due course. The impact the Book of Enoch had on the cognitive processes of the early Jewish people is well known. The formation of the two pillars of Christian and Jewish theology, angelology and eschatology, has been much influenced by the fantastic historical adventures of both the Jewish and Christian religions. Comparing this work to other ancient Near Eastern literature about the Watchers and their destruction helps one to better grasp the religious and cultural context that prevailed at that era. Later Jewish works as the Dead Sea Scrolls, which also address the nature of divine judgment and the issue of the end of the world, reflect the apocalyptic themes that abound in the Book of Enoch. There is much Jewish literature with instances of these concepts. From this vantage point, the book penned by Enoch has had a significant impact on many civilizations, including Christians. Because of the intricate network of linked ideas they produce, Paul's writings and the Book of Revelation stand out among the other books in the New Testament. Among other early church leaders who appreciated it were Tertullian and Origen. It is the Christian eschatological perspective on the Last Judgment and the destiny of the wicked that supports the main themes of divine justice, which are fundamental to the Christian faith. How coming? Mostly because the story emphasizes Judgment Day and the fate of those who are bad somewhat significantly. Theological societies still debate the significance of the text even after the text of Enoch was kicked out from the canon. Unquestionably, it is the essence of the Christian religion. The great quantity of discussion and interpretation that followed helped many of the concepts it suggested to be firmly ingrained in the religious beliefs of people. Many of the topics covered in the Book of Enoch's prologue and major text also abound in other works. Among other factors, they comprise the degree of sinfulness among people, the depth of God's wrath, and the regularity with which pardon might be acquired. Not least of all, the Book of Enoch is a masterwork as it can deftly blend a great range of themes. Apart from having a major impact on Christian perspective, the ancient Book of Enoch, said to have been written by Noah's great-grandfather, offers understanding of the firm convictions maintained by the early Jews. Still another person claiming to be the book's author is Enoch. Examining the depths of religious history helps one to discover the terrible tragedy befalling the Watchers and their sinister predictions about the end of the world. We should consider the ageless moral and spiritual concepts that abound in their story as we keep delving further into this subject. Presenting a podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan offers an interesting forum for exploring a range of subjects. One instance of this is the way modern issues could benefit from the application of classic literature. Among these books, the Book of Enoch stands out especially because of the stories involving Graham Hancock, a well-known historian and novelist with an exceptional awareness of ancient civilizations. For a good portion of Graham Hancock's tales, the Book of Enoch forms their central point. In these fascinating dialogues, Rogan and Hancock explore the importance of the Book of Enoch, including its meaning, background, themes, and readings. Their approach combines ancient knowledge with modern points of view by consulting a broad spectrum of theoretical traditions about human nature and the hereafter. During Hancock episodes, Rogan shows his ability to participate in in-depth discussions that not only offer historical background but also position the Book of Enoch in the suitable literary and historical setting. Reading books like the Book of Enoch helps one to understand the intricate story of human history, claims Hancock, a specialist historian of ancient civilizations and their mythology. By means of the analysis of these historic relics, he hopes to get understanding of the limit of human knowledge as well as the cosmic goal. In his thoughts, he considers the way these specifics should be included into the novels. And this is the same point of view he still holds. Always eager to learn, Rogan pays great attention to what is being said and totally immerses himself in the current issue to grasp the core of his work. After that, he keeps investigating by posing questions meant to encourage reflection within of himself. These links are really crucial as everything is created by the dance between historical knowledge and modern ideas. The Book of Enoch weaves many ideas, including those related to alien life, divine intervention, and the perspective lessons that may be learnt from the catastrophic events that befell the Watchers, into one another. As Rogan and Hancock start turning the book's pages, they find this tapestry. These ideas lead to the seductive potential of a substantially superior culture from a bygone period and the present fascination with the intelligence of alien life. Rogan and his guests ask listeners to see the Book of Enoch from this specific point of view as a method of bridging the past into the present. Those who pay attention to these tales inspire others to think about how they could fit the events taking place in the modern society. Rogan's point of view on the pertinent issue is affected by the particular mix of uncertainty and mystery present in the context. He keeps looking for the probable relevance of these sources even though he is always trying to verify the veracity of some claims related with ancient literature. This careful approach prepares the stage for a meaningful dialogue respectful of the several Enoch personalities that also shows guts enough to challenge accepted wisdom and move the conversation. The surroundings Rogan creates are ones in which people are eager to acquire fresh knowledge and happy to have new facts come across them. He values people having fresh ideas that lead to diverse ways of thinking about the topic. Rogan and Hancock are doing in-depth research of the Book of Enoch in these series of episodes, therefore illuminating the important influence the book has had on modern religious thought and practice. We will investigate throughout this conversation the several ways in which the ideas of divine judgment, the struggle between good and evil, and the necessity of knowledge apply to contemporary readers seeking meaning among chaos. The way their talk is structured clearly shows this. Rogan and his guests serve to highlight the book's continuing relevance despite the passing of time by deftly combining the timeless knowledge contained in the Book of Enoch into present debates on ethics, morality, and the complexity of the human condition. This effort aims to link theoretical ideas with the challenges individuals face in their daily life. Furthermore, Rogan's presentation does not delve particularly thoroughly into the topic of the Book of Enoch or the manner in which religious works affect human cognition. Such events are quite rare. Considering the results of Rogan and Hancock, one may argue that the Book of Enoch is a part of a more whole story about the development of human intelligence. They take into account the many strategies different civilizations have employed historically to handle problems similar to their own. From this vantage point, we might be able to better appreciate the complex network of ideas and academic traditions that shapes our opinions. This thereby makes people consider the ways in which past misconceptions shape their present impressions of the world. Within the framework of his teachings on the Book of Enoch, Joe Rogan offers a perceptive analysis of the connections between modern concepts and ancient wisdom. A range of topics is covered in these longer talks. By means of citations from eminent people like Graham Hancock, Rogan hopes to convince home readers of the book's value. He does this with careful use of inquiry and doubt inside the framework of the discourse. Participants in these seminars will have the chance to study the cosmic ramifications discussed in the Book of Enoch and how they relate to current events via the prism of historical narratives woven with modern challenges. Last but not least, the podcast Rogan hosts encourages listeners to delve deeper into the great concepts expertly woven across this timeless book, hence generating an atmosphere of mystery. The great and various historical conflicts surrounding the canonization of the Book of Enoch mirror the differences between early Christian and Jewish perspectives on the authority of sacred writings. The degree of seriousness these disputes revealed clearly started to escalate as soon as they were exposed. Early church councils' difficult task of establishing the biblical canon was followed by divisive debates. Still, the canon turned out to be successful. This phenomena resulted from the theological currents of the era, which shaped the religious environment of that century as well. For example, the Council of Laodicea, which convened in the 4th century CE, and the Synod of Hippo, which convened in the 3rd century CE, both detailed the requirements for canonization in considerable length. Every one of these councils gathered in the same year, that same year. These meetings concentrated on several crucial subjects, including the value of the apostolic authors, the degree to which early Christian communities employed them, and the degree of agreement these conferences revealed with modern theological viewpoints. The book has been thrown out of the spotlight and into obscurity as the struggle for the canonization of the Book of Enoch has been caught in a web of complex theological questions. The wise example the Book of Enoch offered once upon a time captivated readers entirely. The public's view of the church was much shaped by the contempt the early leaders of it shown for the links of the church to apocalyptic literature. Because they would deviate from the usual Christian viewpoint, the book's thorough representations of celestial worlds, divine retribution, and the fate of the wicked were considered as maybe upsetting. This can mean that the work will offend certain readers. The Book of Enoch, which recounts the Watcher's encounters with a range of human people, adds even another intriguing element. Originally the spark, this picture had influence on early Christian faith and gave it inspiration. Regarding discussions on sin and atonement, this relationship cannot be separated. To preserve the continuity of its theological viewpoint, the Church decided to omit sections of the text that would perhaps complicate matters or even contradict common sense. This goal may have been the lighthouse guiding the decision-maker. The inclusion of the Book of Enoch into the Christian environment, which is predominated by non-Jewish people, presented a major difficulty. This resulted from the close ties between Jewish theology and the Book of Enoch. The foremothers and apostles of the Christian Church used a great lot of Jewish thinking and tradition. Early on in the development of Christianity, this conduct was noted. They knew over its theological evolution that it was growing more and more disconnected from Jewish practices. This inspired them to search for ways to set themselves apart from other religions, which finally helped Christianity to emerge as a unique theological system. The Book of Enoch, which is firmly rooted in Jewish mysticism and apocalyptic ideas, made it essential for the Jewish people to be in complete solitude. The Book of Enoch had a notable decline in popularity near the end. It was indicative of a more general effort toward establishing orthodoxy by strict regulation of acceptable behavior that Enoch and like works were not placed on the list of forbidden literature. The Book of Enoch has fascinated historians, theologians, and those seeking spiritual power because of its vague character and fact that it appears outside of the canonical works. For the sake of this debate, the fact that it is now considered canonical is meaningless. The historical foundation of the book has been much enhanced by fresh archaeological finds, which have greatly raised the level of interest and involvement produced. The count of people starting to engage in this issue keeps increasing. Let your thoughts stray to the Book of Enoch, a book that surely still has great relevance for the Jews living during the Second Temple. From the depths of antiquity, pieces of this long-lost art surfaced in the middle of the parched countryside. Among the mysterious Dead Sea Scrolls discovered in the middle of the century, these fragments were later interpreted just after their discovery. Scholars are going over the book to better grasp the great impact it has had on religious thought since it was originally released because these fresh facts have come to light. The archaeological evidence gathered points to the likely impact the Book of Enoch had on the early Christian literature, which has sparked a fierce argument. The results of the evidence directly led to these discussions' starting point. Paul and those in the Book of Revelation, among other New Testament writers, have meticulously compiled thoughts and concepts similar to those found in Enoch's narratives. Many scholars have highlighted the reality that this is indeed true. Given this, a lot of debate has gone around on how the early Christians may have included Enochic ideas into their own theological system. While we are reading Enoch, our minds are enthralled with the complex network of ideas and the transparency of religious limitations. We should consider the difficulties related to religion at least once. The annals of time feature this specific composition with somewhat notable frequency. The historical research of this book has exposed the complex network of connections between the early church and the theological issues influencing the classification of the Book of Enoch as a valid religious literature. The canonizing of the Book of Enoch resulted from several other theological factors as well. As was the case with the early church councils, which greatly influenced which writings would be considered canonical, theologically valid arguments against the inclusion of Enoch and other works of a similar sort carried a great weight. New archaeological data, especially that connected to the Book of Enoch, always has the chance to grab our attention or curiosity. Because of its wide spectrum of topics as well as its strong philosophical underpinnings, this classic literature is sure to remain relevant and worthwhile for modern researchers. Those who commit a lot of time and effort to study this ancient text, scholars and those seeking spiritual enlightenment, may be able to completely appreciate the broad spectrum of tales that have shaped religious thought throughout the years. Many experts believe that the Book of Enoch is a major work of literature with important theological consequences for Jews and Christians. Nobody objects to this point. By doing this, one is boldly challenging accepted wisdom and may shock these faiths right from their foundations. Though the Book of Enoch contains ideas that obviously contradict this tradition, the Jewish people have always followed the monotheistic idea throughout history. The book, one of the most strange features of which these topics are incorporated, is the Book of Enoch is a magnificent and utterly gorgeous tapestry of angelic beings. Speaking with humans requires a group of angels collectively known as the Watchers to fall from heaven. Still, Judaism stresses unquestionable allegiance to God in a way that is somewhat different from that of other religions. Issues about the nature of supernatural power and the role intermediaries play in this scenario raise a lot of unanswered problems not satisfactorily addressed. The book presents a universe in which heavenly beings engage in the complex fabric of human life. This is not in line with the usual monotheistic-focused Jewish theology pays. Usually maintained in Jewish philosophy, the monotheistic perspective is somewhat different from this one and somewhat off. Readers are invited to consider the basic essence of monotheism and probe the potential of a more complex knowledge of God in the course of this interesting trip. People should be free to explore the opportunities on their own without regard to others. A fresh perspective of the impact Enoch's book had on Christianity is exposed by means of the complex network of eschatology and angelology. Early Christian church poets and theologians were able to create a rich tapestry of knowledge on angels and the approach of the end of the world by incorporating Enochic ideas into their own beliefs. The exact apocalyptic visions described in the Book of Enoch and the viewpoint Christians have about Christ's coming are very comparable. How wonderfully similar they are! The divine judgment and the terrible fate that individuals who keep acting in a wicked way are wonderfully portrayed in this piece of art. There are some rather remarkable parallels across the whole New Testament, yet the Book of Revelation is where these connections most show. Along with elaborate stories of the benefits for virtue and the terrible price for transgression, there are fanciful images of paradise and suffering. This book helps to realize these stories. Given the material available at this URL, it seems the early church was much influenced by the Book of Enoch. This improved their understanding of the prophecies issued about the end of the world as it vividly depicted what happens to humans during the last days. The eschatological search described in Enoch's book had a major influence on Christian perspective on the end of the world. From the standpoint of the Watchers, this story gives the opportunity to look at the duties and responsibilities angels are supposed to do. The way these entities are portrayed makes one feel they were formerly highly favored, which makes one assume they had just departed the sacred planet. One might also understand this as suggesting that they have come upon them. Like a well-made garment, the ideas of angels, devils, and the afterlife are deftly combined inside the framework of the Christian belief system. Originally first mentioned in the Book of Enoch, a book belonging to the Old Testament, the concept of fallen angels became somewhat popular in Christian theology and practice rather fast. They bring evil and the continuous struggle between good and bad into more clear attention as they masterfully create a magnificent narrative web. It is because these individuals are real that this specific event occurs. Following the way the narrative shows the basic spiritual struggle Christians face helps us to better understand the ethical implications connected with divine intervention. The absence of the Book of Enoch from the canon of Scripture had great effects on the early Christian faith. Early on in the Church's history, its founders deliberately decided to remove Enoch's teachings from their theological canon. This was taken action to guarantee the Church's ongoing legitimacy. They decided to act in order to make sure their supporters stayed away from sometimes dangerously complex subjects. The underlying idea behind what they achieved was this one. Given the complex structure of the universe and the fascinating stories Enoch tells, it is highly possible that the reader would find it difficult to reduce the nature and might of God to a simple story. Many factors lead to the phenomena, including the prevalent belief that the Book of Enoch is not a canonical scripture and the corresponding inclination to ignore it. The lack of coherent ideas in Christianity suggests that a more strong monotheistic perspective has evolved inside the faith. One plausible reason for this might be a fall in interest in angels in the next world. The absence of the Book of Enoch has only served to intensify the arguments about the nature of revelation and the standards for determining whether books are legitimate. This is the reason the Book of Enoch is absent from this anthology. If we omit works like Enoch, we would be better able to appreciate the dynamic heterogeneity that might have defined the early church's culture and their attempt to create a shared vision. The choice to exclude the Book of Enoch from canonization has had far-reaching consequences. Theologians and academics are now devoting a lot of time and effort to investigate the consequences of this choice. This is obviously an issue, hence they are looking at how the absence of a theological environment has affected modern concepts of religion and spirituality. Being a unique work of art, the Book of Enoch challenges accepted wisdom and shapes basic ideas. From a theological perspective, reading from the Bible is thus very vital for both Jews and Christians. The story that results from the deft combining of several ideas challenges the acceptance of monotheism within the Jewish community. Furthermore, influencing the early Christians' views on apocalyptic visions and celestial bodies at that era were these concepts. One great example of this is the development of fundamental religious ideas over history. The philosophical foundations upon which Christianity is based were profoundly influenced by the choice to omit the Book of Enoch from the canon of the Bible. This limits our understanding of early Christian theology and the character of revelation. We have also forgotten to commit enough time to particular areas of study. Academics have considerable interest in the Book of Enoch as it is so very relevant in the spheres of religion and spirituality. Their aim of a better understanding of it drives them to keep staring into its incomprehensible depths. We have seized the chance this book has given us to investigate the various facets of religion that are entwined across its pages. Comprising 5 distinct chapters, the ancient Jewish Book of Enoch consists of variations in each one more than the others. The author skillfully combines a story and a synthesis of ideas into every one of these parts to underline the enormous importance of the work when it is read whole. Among the several works of literature contained in this special collection are the Epistle of Enoch, the Book of Watchers, the Book of Parables, the Astronomical Book, and the Book of Dream Visions. Some of the more famous ones include, from an intellectual standpoint, the moral principles, apocalyptic visions, and theological ideas masterfully woven throughout these works have benefited Jews and Christians most importantly. This has led to the development of both theoretical traditions into a lot more whole method. One of the very interesting portions discovered inside the main text is the part of the Book of Enoch designated as the Book of Watchers. A lot of very outstanding masterpieces follow from it. It is a great model as it is so well known and important. Watchers is the name given to a group of celestial beings that sporadically show up in the story. They seek to build relationships with human women so that they may realize their ambition of creating a strong line of Nephilim giants. They will have to journey down to the surface of the moon if they are to reach their target. Here we shall review the principles of God's judgment, the nature of sin, and the effects of people's non-performance of God's holy requirements. A great deluge descended from above as a heavenly intervention to purify the earth, since the actions of the Watchers had disseminated pollution and instability throughout the whole planet. This was undertaken to purify the planet. All of this was done in order to help to create a future free of instability and corruption. Acting as a warning about the perils of veering off the path, the Book of Watchers is a structure. It is given inside a narrative that emphasizes the greatest importance of human decisions. As long as people are eager to explore the intricate problems that are common in the domains of philosophy and religion, this work will be regarded as a classic. The clever story the game conveys and its amazing visuals have helped it to become very popular. The subjects that surface in the second book, also referred to as the Book of Parables, are divine wrath and justice. Some people refer to this book as the Book of Parables sometimes. With its complex network of ideas and symbolic meanings connected with them, this collection of works enthralls the intellect and the spirit. This part recounts the amazing narrative of the expected messianic figure, the Son of Man, who would lead a restoration to justice and righteousness. This person will introduce these ideas. One reasonable assumption is that this individual is able to balance obligations. The Book of Parables transports us over a spectrum of fascinating narratives illustrating the consequences of both good and bad behavior. The book is divided with these tales strewn throughout. All things considered, these stories produce a result whereby divine justice prevails. This is without a question. This section contains a repetition of Christian beliefs on the arrival of Christ and the Last Judgment, therefore stressing the great relevance of eschatology and the forthcoming judgment. This makes it abundantly evident that the early Christians' perspective was much influenced by the Book of Enoch. The third and last volume of the series, the astronomical book, captivates us entirely with its mesmerizing cosmic ballet. This section offers a correct depiction of the calendar in all of its amazing complexity as well as a great illumination of the mysteries of the lunar and solar cycles. The most basic connections between astronomy and religious traditions as well as the accepted definition of astronomy and its operations are investigated in this part. The core of the astronomical book is the idea that God is the one who developed the guidelines controlling the cosmos. This awareness helps one to see the importance of time as well as the fundamental natural order supporting all. Traveling to the center of the cosmos is the only way to get an awareness of the close tie that exists between humans and the divine, so this trip is of so tremendous relevance. One of the most crucial features of this method is the need of trying to match our behavior with the cycles of the planets all around us. Dream Vision's fourth part throws the reader into a complex network of symbolic dreams. Each one of these images might be a premonition of events to come for Israel and the rest of the world. Here we will examine the complex ideas of hope, judgment, and restoration more closely. It uses metaphor and breathtaking images to bring the ideas buried under the surface alive so that they may be achieved. Offering a strong evidence of the worth of divine revelation and prophecy, adherents are led on the road towards righteousness. The Book of Dream Visions is, all those who have read it agree, a superb piece of literature. In the framework of Enoch's story, this part emphasizes the triumph of virtue, which relates to the apocalyptic undercurrents throughout the narrative. At the end of the second half of the story, often known as the Epistle of Enoch, Enoch is supposed to have inspired a collection of words of wisdom and instruction. This part covers completely the need of acting ethically, the consequences of acting immorally, and the importance of moral activity. Those who are faithful are urged to appreciate the wisdom that has been conferred upon them from on high and to be unwavering in their faith by a heartfelt appeal. Examining the basic ideas of the Epistle of Enoch more closely helps readers to consider their relationship with God as well as the ethical consequences of their behavior. Because Enoch's epistle offers a brief synopsis of the most significant concepts in the book. The Book of Enoch distinguishes itself from other apocalyptic writings in that it gives the conclusion great attention. Not nearly as fascinating as this one part is the rest of the book. Throughout the story of the apocalyptic play are entwined ideas of divine judgment, the horrible end of the world as we know it, and the depressing hope of atonement. Every one of these historical episodes from the past is entwined into the fabric of our common past. Among the works deemed to be apocalyptic, several have hints implying a connection between judgment and atonement. The main sources of inspiration for the publishing of the New Testament were the prophetic visions and amazing images recorded in the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is a great tool for anybody who wants to track the development of eschatological concepts in the Christian and Jewish traditions. The poem's main subjects are the approaching end of the earth and the last victory of virtue over evil. The poem presents poetically the hopes and worries that were common in the historical time it was composed of. The 5 main chapters of the Book of Enoch's entwined plot and varied topics add not just to their religious significance but also to the book's whole worth. One of the reasons the work stands out is the deftly stitched together combination of these concepts and tales throughout. Among a great body of work, the Book of Watchers is unique as it tackles such important themes as the divine judgment and the forward-looking prophecy of an upcoming Messiah. This is why I consider the work to be pretty interesting. 3 further works of literature that help to clarify the basic elements of meaning are the Epistle of Enoch, the Astronomical Book, and the Book of Dream Vision. These specific cases are more works emphasizing their importance. It is plausible to claim that this work has changed the area of religious philosophy given its great impact on the mental processes of Christians and Jews. This has had a significant influence on both of these religions. Given that these works mostly center on the end of the world, eschatology becomes even more important in this particular context. The volume of scholarly interest in Enoch's book has increased dramatically throughout the years. Recent translations, fascinating discoveries, and a growing awareness of the Book of Enoch's relevance in contemporary religious debate have helped the book to be revived. Scholars are debating today whether the events depicted in the Book of Enoch have any bearing on the culture in which we live. This specific discussion surfaced throughout the course of a new round of inquiry. People's inspiration and will to participate in the Renaissance came from the discovery of ancient literature, especially the books unearthed among the Dead Sea Scrolls in the middle of the 20th century. Within the unearthed old manuscripts were a variety of bits from the Book of Enoch. These sections underline the presence of the book as well as its great relevance for the Jewish people during the Second Temple's lifetime. Since they have been so readily available, academics have been contrasting and investigating these sources. Our knowledge of the contents, framework, and historical background of the Book of Enoch has so grown. This is how our perspective on the work produced by Enoch has developed. Thanks to advances in digital imaging and analysis, researchers now have access to papers not before possible. These developments have so given the scholarly discourse of the book a great boost. This clarifies the reason the book enjoys so much among academics. Owing to the continuous cycle of translations of Enoch, which has enthralled scholars and the general public, there has been unanticipated demand in this old book. This interest has kept academics and the ordinary people enthralled. The translations that have now become accessible help one to properly enjoy this curiosity. The production of fresh translations, which often include critical remarks, has greatly raised interest in the work as well as its ideas and the results it has gone through. As such, this has made the artwork more visible to a broad spectrum of people. These translations aim to give a more complete grasp of the original meaning by skillfully combining components from a great range of linguistic and cultural settings. Later translations of the Book of Enoch have emphasized the need of religious discourse that is relevant and beneficial for modern concerns. These translations were published for public use not so long ago. Some of the subjects covered in these lectures are the nature of evil, divine justice, and the complex interplay between mankind and the divine. Scholars have been working constantly in recent years to find a link between the timeless knowledge found in the Book of Enoch and contemporary problems relevant for our planet. This project aims to help one better understand the fundamental moral principles of the book, such as divine judgment and moral responsibility, as well as how they relate to more difficult ethical issues including social justice and environmental stewardship. In order to better understand the moral ideas of the book, some scholars have started to untangle these strands. We are going to travel this road to help you to better grasp how each of these elements fits into the greater story. The holy book of the Book of Enoch reminds us soberly of the moral obligations people and companies have to undertake in the framework of our modern surroundings. Examining the holy literature included in the Book of Enoch helps one to see this reminder. Nonetheless, it underlines the need of moral behavior and the consequences of the choices people choose. Academic researchers underline the continuing relevance of the Book of Enoch by deftly tying its great lessons to the challenging issues individuals are confronting in the contemporary society. There have been fierce arguments on the historical and theological significance of the Book of Enoch since its recent scholarly rebirth. They have continued for really some time. Scholars are often looking at the importance of the Holy Book in ancient times, considering how much it affected the theological growth of early Judaism and Christianity. The Book of Enoch, which presents a thorough study of angelology, moral principles, and apocalyptic literature, was inspired by a passion in the fascinating past of ancient religious ideas and activities. We look closely at all these subjects. The Book of Enoch, which is proof positive of this, features great abundance of these qualities. First, analysis of the connections between the Book of Enoch and other apocryphal works as well as the effects it has had on the canonization of the Bible will help one to have a complete awareness of the intricate historical environment in which the Book of Enoch was created. The exclusion of the Book of Enoch from the accepted canon of the Bible has generated several interesting arguments. These debates concentrate on the standards the early church fathers used to evaluate the validity of particular writings. The absence of Enoch and the related literature has enthralled academics investigating the main effects this exclusion of Enoch has had on the development of Christian theology. Moreover, exploring the historical relevance of the book forces us to reconsider the boundaries of orthodoxy as well as the diversity of ideas that blossomed inside those early religious communities. These influences, which have been in effect for some time, might be the reason the Book of Enoch draws once again scholarly interest. Among these elements are the production of fresh translations, interesting findings, and the book's ongoing relevance to religious conflicts in the current society. The fact that academics keep reading over Enoch has spurred a continuous debate on his theological and historical value. To understand the secret meanings of the Book of Enoch, scholars are rediscovering long-lost customs and beliefs. There is whatsoever reason for this. Examining this ancient text helps one to understand why there is a revival of interest in it. People who know the topic well will find this development intriguing. This makes the spiritual and ethical principles found in the Book of Enoch accessible to a wide audience and forces readers to explore how these insights relate to their own views and practices. This film aims to study the great theological impact of the Book of Enoch in order to provide light on the several ways in which this ancient text has drawn academics, religious leaders, and people seeking illumination for millennia. The Book of Enoch, most likely written by Enoch, Noah's great-grandfather, transports the reader over both time and place with its linked stories. The narratives probe weighty subjects include the nature of evil, the complexity of the world, and the wrath of heaven. This information, which was not first included in the canon of Scripture, makes it possible to investigate the criteria early church leaders applied in order to assess literature in great detail. Including this specific one, every one of the various opposing points of view held by the early Christians and Jews is present in this section. Reading the Book of Enoch in great detail is one way one may ascertain its relevance and see how it shapes the two religions. This poetry clarifies the wonderfully created kingdom of celestial beings existing in the cosmos. The Watchers may keep rule over this realm and concurrently link their fate to that of the planet. This kind of thinking challenges the conventional monotheistic perspective by daring to face the underlying assumption of the approach. The complexity of this network forces us to consider deeply in order to understand the supernatural power existing and the indispensable character of our moral obligations as human beings. This will result in a better knowledge of both ideas. Enoch presents a vivid image of the end of the earth and offers decisions that are mirrored in modern discussions on morality, justice, and humanity. These discussions are still under progress right now at precisely this moment. The moral conundrums we face and the complex network of life that exists on Earth become more clear as we investigate further into these disciplines. As our conversation comes to a conclusion, I would want to utilize this moment to let you consider the meaning of the Book of Enoch for your own religious growth. We invite you to subscribe to our channel so that you may access more material that is interesting if you are drawn by this research and want to explore the interesting domains of religious history, ancient literature, and present theological dialogues. This will enable you to access a great range of interesting academic disciplines. Following your instruction and paying attention to your recommendations will help us to investigate the several aspects of spirituality and faith, therefore enabling us to produce films that are both fascinating and provocative. Please lead us throughout the balance of this era. Apart from stating your opinion in the comments section, it would be much appreciated if you could also post a video similar to this one to indicate your support of this. We appreciate your quick attention very much. We really appreciate your comments on the issues we cover, so kindly do not hesitate to share your ideas. I appreciate your fast reaction to this issue. Should you have any questions or if you would want further information on the Book of Enoch, kindly do not hesitate to contact us at any moment. If you could kindly spare some time to participate in this conversation, we would be very appreciative, as not only will your participation improve the quality of life in our community, but it will also help us to develop plans for next projects. Anyone who wants to explore the many facets of religious history will surely find the many papers and ideas on our website to be interesting and captivating. Beginning with the Dead Sea Scrolls and working through the ideas of the early church fathers to the end of the series, our films cover a great deal of ground. The long-run goal of this research is to uncover the stories forming the basis of our spiritual past. By means of meticulous analysis of these ancient works, one can get a better awareness of the broad spectrum of human ideas as well as the complex network of religion. Within the sphere of modern spiritual research, the Book of Enoch has become a necessary link bridging the ancient with the present. The turnaround is really notable. We have found that the universal themes of cosmic justice, moral obligation, and audience involvement motivate us to deeply consider our own worldviews and choices. If you want to learn more about the book and how it may help you develop spiritually, you should definitely see this movie. With its help, every one of these goals should be easily reachable. We really appreciate your presence. As we explore even more intriguing topics together, we are looking forward to continuous engagement.